Kristi Noem, the woman who shot her own dog, is trying to sound the alarm that the Department of Homeland Security isn't being funded. But she's leaving out a few pretty important details.
We're concerned about the Department of Homeland Security not being funded. In fact, I think it's the wrong message to send to the world at this point in time. When you think about it, every other portion of the federal government has been funded except Homeland Security. That's telling the rest of the world the Democrat Party doesn't think that protecting America is safe. So this is a dangerous situation that we're in, that the Democrat Party has chosen to shut down the department that was created after 9/11. This department was created recognizing that we are vulnerable to terrorist attacks and that American homeland needs to be funded and focused on keeping us safe within our own borders. We have all responsibility for cyber operations and funding and going after terrorists who would attack our critical infrastructure, our electrical grid, our water systems, that would come in and hack into our intelligence agencies and our national security operations. The Department of Homeland Security has the agency that's responsible for stopping those threats and going after those bad actors. The Democrat Party is choosing not to fund them and making us very vulnerable to those terrorists being successful here on our homeland. I hope that they will come to their senses, recognize that the American people need to come first, and have a policy discussion that we should be having on a policy bill in regards to any reforms that they want to see.
Kristi Noem is warning us about national security threats, and she wants you to be really, really scared that Democrats won't fund her department. But here's what she's not telling you. ICE already has $75 billion. $75 billion with a B. And that came from Trump's budget bill that Republicans passed last year. Same bill that cut $1 trillion in Medicaid and Medicare and $500 billion in food assistance. So ICE already has their money. What the next funding fight about is everything else inside DHS. Democrats are saying, okay, if you want us to fund all of that, great. Then rein in the out-of-control masked federal agents that just murdered a nurse in Minneapolis. That's the deal. Kristi Noem isn't going to tell you that.
Your department is out of control. You are spending like you don't have a budget. You're on the verge of running out of money for the fiscal year. You are illegally refusing to spend funds that have been authorized by this Congress and appropriated by this committee. You are ignoring the immigration laws of this nation, implementing a brand new immigration system that you have invented that has little relation to the statutes that you are required, that you are commanded to follow, as spelled out in your oath of office. You are routinely violating the rights of immigrants who may not be citizens, but whether you like it or not, they have constitutional and statutory rights when they reside in the United States. Your agency acts as if laws don't matter, as if the election gave you some mandate to violate the Constitution and the laws passed by this Congress. It did not give you that mandate. You act as if your disagreement with the law, or even the public's disagreement with the law, is relevant and gives you the ability to create your own law. It does not give you that ability. Let's start with your spending. You are on track to trigger the Anti-Deficiency Act. That means you are going to spend more money than you have been allocated by Congress. This is a rare occurrence, and it is wildly illegal. Your agency will be broke by July, over 2 months before the end of the fiscal year. You may not think that Congress has provided enough money to ICE, but the Constitution and the federal law does not allow you to spend more money than you have been given or to invent money. And this obsession with spending at the border, as the chairwoman mentioned, has left the country unprotected elsewhere.
This hearing was 9 months ago. 9 months ago, Senator Murphy sat in front of Kristi Noem, the person whose entire job it is to manage the budget for her department, and told her, your agency is out of control. You are illegally overspending, and you're going to be broke by July. And what did Noem and the Trump administration spend all of that money on, by the way? Not on the Coast Guard, or FEMA, or TSA, or anything that, could maybe actually help you. No. They blew the budget chasing deportation numbers, running mass arrest operations and hiring thousands of untrained agents who don't know the law, and funding their photo ops and terrorizing communities and ripping families apart, all in the name of inflating their deportation numbers. So now, Noem is looking into the camera with her best concerned face, warning us about terrorists and national security gaps. Democrats are supposed to what? Nod along and hand her more money so she can go hire more untrained ICE agents so her department can go kill more Americans?
Democrats are demanding reforms to ICE, CBP, and the raids conducted by their masked armed agents who are still terrorizing neighborhoods across America right now. Late last night, Democrats sent the White House a renewed list of conditions for funding DHS. They reportedly include tightening warrant requirements, unmasking agents in the field, and stopping indiscriminate roving patrols. And Democrats in Congress are really digging in right now because they see that as Americans overwhelmingly sour on ICE, for the first time in a very long time, they can play offense on an issue that has, for so long, put them on their back foot. The White House recognizes this too, and suddenly they are trying to do somewhat of a rebrand, quietly shelving some of the loudest, proudest cheerleaders for sweeping deportations. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is reportedly on thin ice right now, sidelined by Trump in an Oval Office meeting after facing public backlash for lies told in the aftermath of the killings of 2 Americans.
Let's talk about what Democrats are actually asking for in order to fund DHS. Republicans want you to think that this is some radical left-wing list, that Democrats are just being unnecessarily obstructionist, or that they hate Republicans so much that they just want to do whatever they can to stop them. Here's the list. Agents have to show their face. Agents have to get a warrant before entering someone's home. Agents can't just drive around neighborhoods grabbing people at random. That's it. That's the list. Things that every single law enforcement agency in this country are already doing. Things that are, by the way, in the Constitution. What Gnome and the Trump administration have created is a masked armed agency with zero identification that has descended upon American neighborhoods with no warrants, no oversight, no accountability. They're just showing up, grabbing people, killing people, and then leaving. The Trump administration is so committed to letting their ICE agents operate in the shadows that they would rather shut down FEMA, let TSA workers go without pay, than agree to literally just requiring ICE agents to wear some identification. Democrats aren't blocking DHS funding for no reason. They're blocking a blank check for an agency that has already proven it will use that money to terrorize communities, ignore the law, and shoot innocent people in broad daylight.
I mean, let's also just think of Kristi Noem's motivations here, right? She was basically shown the exit sign in Minneapolis after the murder of 2 American citizens on videotape prompted national outcry. And Tom Homan's basically spent the last several weeks trying to clean up her mess. And now Operation Metro Surge is being judged the calamity we always knew it was and being ended, right? She is in the doghouse, which, given her history, is not a good place for Kristi Noem to be because she's under scrutiny for she and her boyfriend, Corey Lewandowski, have been jetting her around the country in a private jet. She grossly mismanaged the paramilitary while taking out ads that were not approved by Donald Trump, promoting her gross mismanagement of this paramilitary ICE force. She's firing people for not bringing her blankets aboard her private airplanes. Crazy diva-like behavior, while at the same time subjecting DHS employees who are working in immigration enforcement to polygraph tests. I mean, it is an insane litany of bad behavior, corrupt behavior, and highlights just how stupid and unsavory this person is, right?
This is the woman who is begging Congress to trust her with more money. Private jet trips, the blanket firing. Actually, let's talk about the blanket situation for 1 second because it is the most genuinely ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Kristi Noem, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, fired a federal employee because they didn't bring her blankie on her private jet. Poor Kristi. Thoughts and prayers for having to survive on your private jet without your blanket. And then she takes out ads promoting herself, going rogue with department resources to run a personal PR campaign while her agency is literally killing people in the streets. This is the same person telling you that Democrats are making America more vulnerable to terrorists. I'm sorry, but can we just ask the obvious question? What has Kristi Noem actually done to keep America safe? Because from where I'm sitting, she's been busy flying private, firing staff over blankets, taking out unauthorized ads, and subjecting her employees to polygraph tests. That is a full schedule, sure, just not one that has anything to do with national security.
We are standing outside what has turned into the Trump regime's personal paramilitary force turned against the civilian population in this country. Not only are we seeing Americans murdered in cold blood, people terrorized in their workplaces, in their schools, in their churches, but what we are not seeing is arguably even worse, and that is inside the detention centers run by ICE and DHS and 2 for-profit private prison companies, Core Civic and Geo Group, that are making billions of dollars to torture and abuse and mistreat people, and dozens of people have died in ICE detention centers. I have a constituent in my district named Yadi who has been in ICE detention for almost 1 full year now. She has leukemia. She's lost 70 pounds since being in ICE detention. The last time I was there, I personally saw her vomit blood and an ICE agent tell me that must just be a side effect of the Advil they are giving her, which is the only thing they have given her for leukemia.
This is so disgusting. This is what your taxpayer dollars are going towards. This is what Kristi Noem is asking for billions of dollars in funding for. A woman is sitting in a for-profit detention center, vomiting blood from untreated cancer, and the people being paid billions to detain her handed her an Advil and called it a day. This is not an isolated incident. Dozens of people have died in ICE detention centers. Dozens of real-life people. And the companies running these facilities are making billions of dollars in profit. That is your taxpayer dollars flowing directly into the pockets of private prison companies who are torturing the people that they've detained. But this is what the Trump administration has done to this country. This is the environment that they've created. And no one wants to talk about terrorists. The call is coming from inside the House. So when Kristi Noem stands at her podium and says Democrats are leaving America vulnerable, remember this clip. Remember that Democrats are asking for literally the most common sense reforms. Removing masks, wearing identification badges, and requiring warrants before you arrest someone, and maybe not holding people for a year in some back alley detention center. But the Trump administration would rather shut everything down than agree to those. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Kristi Noem is warning you about national security threats and unfunded agencies and vulnerable Americans, and is pointing the finger at Democrats. But what actually happened is that Democrats warned this administration 9 months ago that they were illegally overspending, and nobody listened. ICE ran roving patrols, grabbed people without warrants, operated behind masks with no identification, killed Americans in broad daylight, and when Democrats said enough, suddenly they're the ones who hate America. The reforms Democrats are asking for are not crazy. They are the bare minimum of what we expect from every other law enforcement agency in this country. Show your face. Get a warrant. Don't murder people. That's it. That's the list. And the Trump administration would rather shut down the entire Department of Homeland Security than agree to those reforms. That tells you everything you need to know about who this administration is protecting, because it is definitely not you. So the next time you hear Kristi Noem lecture Democrats about keeping America safe, remember what you saw in this video. And if Kristi Noem wants to talk about what's making America vulnerable, maybe she should take a look in the mirror. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.